Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse today is Indriya as the creator of destiny. Indriya means the controlling faculties that determine our actions here and now and hereafter. That is to say, determines our future also. Now, how that happens? Now, the question arose, suppose we didn't have these indriyas. First of all, the material parts of the bodily parts as indriyas, like eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. These are the 6 indriyas. 6 controlling faculties. They control our actions here and now, control our destiny hereafter. So unless we know them, how they function, we will have no control over them, we will not know how to handle them. And if we don't know how to handle them, then we become the servants, they are slaves. So ad infinitum, you see, we keep on perpetuating this samsaric existence. Because indriyas, as controlling mechanism, they perpetuate. Now, let's start with an imagery. Let us say that if we did not have any of these 5 material indriyas, bodily indriyas, we didn't have eye, we didn't have ear, we didn't have nose, we didn't have tongue, we didn't have body. And then we didn't have mind also. Now what we will be like? We will be like vegetables, brinjals and cucumbers and things like that. We'll just vegetate, there will be nothing, but life will have no meaning whatsoever. So indriyas give life what it is. And indriyas open up the world for us. If we did not have these indriyas, we will not know what the world is. And by not knowing the world, there will be no knowledge whatsoever. The source of knowledge is interaction between the inner world and the external world. Now, the eye has its counterpart in the form of visible objects. So when we have eye, we are in contact with the visible objects, with the external world consisting of objects, visible objects. Similarly, after all, the external world can be also, brought under these 5 different types of physical phenomena. Now, the external world consists of what can be seen, or what can be heard, or what can be smelled, what can be tasted, what can be touched. And the mental world, and the mental objects, concepts, ideas, imaginations, thinking, those things, and all these processes. Now, indriyas are the place where all these, this knowledge about the world appears. And so, how that happens should be really clearly understood, and how we can turn these indriyas into a great spiritual instrument to create a new world here and now and hereafter. because what the future will be depends upon what we do now. Our present conduct and activities will determine what we will be in the future. And this present conduct will depend very much on how we deal with the Indriyas. Now, for instance, here we see an object, a visible object, and we are attracted by it. We like it, and then once we like it, we like to enjoy it. And when we want to enjoy it and we begin to enjoy, what happens? The mind is defiled. Craving occurs, greed occurs. All these mind-defiling factors occur. Once that happens, you see, craving leads to automatically to attachment, to clinging the object. What you crave for, you cling to it. And once you cling to it, then that becomes the source for actual involvement with volitional activity. Karma begins there. So long there is craving, so long there will be karma. That is why it is said, the root cause of all suffering in the world is craving. That is the second truth, noble truth, is craving. And craving generates upadana, clinging, that is to say attachment. You become attached to what you crave for, and then it leads to generation of karma. You become what you want to be. So karma, if you look at it, you see, with wisdom, you will see, it is bhava. You see, upadana pachaya bhava. You see, dependent on attachment or clinging to objects. You see, there arises bhava, becoming. Now, becoming is twofold. One kamma bhava, the other is upapatti bhava. Kamma means plain volitional activities. When you are attached to a thing and when you cling to it, you commit yourself, you perform all kinds of activities, bodily activities, verbal activities and mental activities in order to gratify your craving and your attachment. So this way, by, you see, just not having control over the Indriyas, craving generates and thereby action, karma. So karma, the process of, the karmic process starts with actual commitment, actual commission or performance of good or bad deeds. You see, verbally, bodily, verbally and mentally. Now once that is done, that is the beginning of the karmic process. You generate every action, every karma has a certain potency, a certain power, and the potency is to give a result. And the result is in the form of rebirth or in the form of, once you are reborn, support life, continuation of existence, or in the form of the very opposite, you destroy life. Now, for instance, recently I heard that this Andhra leader just passed away in an accident. Suddenly, his plane or helicopter struck that rock, and there ended his whole career, life, everything. So this is one function of karma. He has done some kind of karma in the past for which he has to pay. and he paid very heavily. He was the chief minister. He was very popular. And all the good things of life that people crave for, he had all those aplenty, in abundant measure. And he probably would have something much more at the central level if he had lived. All that is gone by the action of a karma. If the karma happens to be, let us say, destruction of life, then your own life gets destroyed. We should not bring in element of emotion in this. It's just plain facts, facts of life. So, this is how the karma, you see, the potency of a karma produces result. Either in the form of giving life, a new rebirth, or destruction of life, the opposite of it, accident, this, that, and so on, or disease, for instance. A person keeps on getting all kinds of diseases all the time. You enjoy a very fine life, you have got name and fame, you have got everything in the world you can think of, but you are diseased. The story of Henry Ford I told you several times before. He could not eat a piece of bread. He had to live on liquid food, that is barley water, of a particular specific gravity. With all that huge money that he could not count, he had to weigh the money, the dollar bills, and find out how much money he got. Now these are the predicaments of life and the tragedies, and you see all these occur due to karma, due to action. So life is characterized now, people may visualize life as something very wonderful. So karma works, you see, it works out in this way, bhava. For instance, give rebirth, or the opposite of it, destroy life, or support life in all kinds of ways, enjoyment, pleasure, happiness, or the opposite of it, disease, misfortune, poverty, bad name, all kinds of troubles, all kinds of different forms of suffering, struggles and all that. So this is life. Now karma ultimately is created in this manner. So once you are involved in karma, you are thrown into the future, rebirth. You create a future by your action. And this, once you create a future by your action, there again you start doing all kinds of karmas once you are born. And then you are catapulted into the future, further future. So perpetuation of existence, the wheel of life, is called samsara. Samsarati iti samsara. That which perpetuates this travel, these cycles of existence, coming into being, dying, being reborn again, again dying, ad infinitum it goes on. And that is dukkha. And the cause of this dukkha, Bhagavan said, is craving. And craving is created by feeling. And the feeling generates in an Indriya. With the eye, you have the eye, and you see the object, the visible objects, they have a tendency, or their nature is that they attract. So the eye gets, you see, the eye has a tendency to meet the visible object, because the visible object attracts. And when the eye, the sense organ or the sense-based eye is you see, trying to meet the visible object. The consciousness which is based on the eye consciousness, chakku vijnana, that immediately adverts towards the object. Advert means it pays attention towards the visible object. So if there is a visible object and if there is an eye, the visible object has the tendency to move towards the eye, to meet the eye, and the eye has a tendency similarly to meet the visible object, and through this paying of attention by the eye consciousness. So once that happens, you have a triple conjunction. That is three things like a triangle. Three things come into being, they meet. And that is called passo or contact or self-impression, sense impression. So when there is visible object and there is the eye base, also physical phenomena, and then the advertence, which is eye consciousness, the ability to see, seeing consciousness, chakku vijnana, seeing consciousness. When these three meet, it is a very important occurrence that takes place. With this meeting of the three, automatically there arises feeling. And the feeling in turn then lets a whole chain so called up. You see, it triggers all kinds of activities. You see, once you have the feeling, you know, you perceive that this is in the form, it's a very pleasant one, so why not enjoy? It's an unpleasant one, why not repel? Or just be indifferent to it, neutral. These three kinds of very basic sensations occur, and that gets very, very complicated, you see, leading to craving. Or the very opposite, if you know how to deal with feeling. Here we come to the crux of the whole thing. The crux of the matter is how to have control over the controlling faculties. This controlling mechanism that we have in the form of the senses and the mind is a very preeminent mechanism, controlling mechanism in the manindriya. Because what you see is with your eye, very good. Then the same thing what you have seen with the eye gets perceived by the mind. The mind, memory comes in. Perception has to deal with memory and identification and things like that, and interpretation. That what you see with the eye, that is interpreted by the mind. So, now the eye, the seeing, the act of seeing becomes then a mental object. So here then, the eye, the Indriya, let us see how many functions an Indriya performs. And from that you can know why it is called an Indriya, a controlling mechanism. Now for instance, the eye is a base for consciousness. Now suppose somebody asks you, well, you have got a mind. Yes, I have a mind, otherwise I will be vegetable. Very good. Where is it located? Where will you say? Oh, it is located everywhere in the body. Or everywhere, somewhere. We don't know where it is, but it's there somewhere. No. A knowledgeable person will not talk like that. He will say they are based on the senses, bodily, the physical senses, as well as on the mind as a sense. Mind has many, many roles. It puts on many hats, all kinds of functions it performs. So, this what you see becomes a mental object, becomes a memory. Once it is a memory, then it can occur to your mind 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. Just the same thing. Now you say, you have met a friend. You saw somebody walking on the road and you have been walking yourself. You recognize, hello, that friend you meet. Then you have some discussion on something you have read in the newspaper. Now both of you mightily disagree. You see? So this disagreement grows into argument. And argument later on ends up into fistication. That means you hit each other. So you have committed with this meeting, through this feeling, that hello friend, you like the, it all started with a feeling. He's a friend, right? So you started with that and you ended up by quarreling and fighting, committing a karma. Okay. Now that is just this event today, one thing has happened, you forget about it, you say, okay, never mind, oh, this goes on, this is a part of life, and so forth. You have the ability to forget. That also is a part of perception mechanism. To remember and to forget. That's part of perception and memory. Just as temperature does not mean only heat, it also means cold. Coldness. The two aspects, the two, you see, dichotomy, the two of the same phenomena. So here, you have forgotten and all that. But again in the night, when you are lying down or when you are sitting to meditate, now this comes up. You mentally see what the event, ghatana, the event that occurred, and then you interpret that again in mind. He says, he's a dummy, he's a fool, he is this, he is that, he doesn't understand. Okay, go ahead and have another row with yourself. A big row at that. And each time you remember this kind of same thing, each time you fight with yourself, within yourself. That means you are repeating the same karma again, again and again. And this happens in life, without, infinitely it goes on, with hundreds and thousands of all kinds of karma.